Welcome back to the Show of Requirement, a Harry Potter podcast. A podcast not exclusive to any streaming service. It's a joke from a long time ago. We used to be exclusive on Spotify, not for any reason. But yes, we are on YouTube. Hello, YouTube people. I'm Spencer Price, and we're your host today. I'm joined by Abby. Last week was when we did the whole team got together for Half-Blood Prince. It was very fun. But today, Abby and I are just carrying us on through to the next installment, a really good one, as we were just talking about before we started recording, which is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, the seventh installment of our Rewatch series. Really a culmination of all we've done, honestly. And so it's kind of hard. It's the funnest challenge of this. It's just been not treading on what we've already covered too much. But we have read through a whole series. So if you love the books, you love the movies, this is a place for you. But yeah, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1. This is the first Harry Potter movie I saw in theaters.
Really?
Yes. And that's partially because my parents didn't really let us read them.
I forgot about that. Yep.
For a while. And I didn't start reading them till probably Goblet of Fire had come out already, or maybe even later than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're closing in on the end of the series by the time I had read them. And I didn't want to see a movie before reading the book. And so I remember just having just finished Deathly Hallows not too long before going to see this. This was 2010, I think.
Yeah, then I think the last one was 2012. So
2011. I think they came out back-to-back years.
Mm.
But you might be right. No, because it couldn't be 2012 because it didn't come out the same year as Avengers.
I could be wrong. I definitely thought it was 2012.
But what are your overall thoughts? Yes, it was 2010 and 2011. Which honestly kind of crazy because the book came out in 2007.
Yeah.
That's not that far before the movies.
Mm-mm. I remember the release of the book. My mom worked at Barnes & Noble. And so I got to be there on release night. So that was fun.
Yeah, the Order of the Phoenix was coming out when the final book released.
Mm-hmm.
These were right behind each other.
Yeah.
And they must have filmed both of these back to back in 2009, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when Half-Blood Prince released. So they must have just pretty much Half-Blood Prince straight on through.
Yeah.
But what are your overall thoughts of this movie?
Also, let me know if I'm cutting out too much. I can try and change locations. Overall thoughts on Part 1. I think there are parts that I enjoy watching and parts that I don't. There are parts that I want to skip through when I watch it, but that's just because I feel like it's slower and I don't have as much fun watching them sometimes. But that's just a personal preference.
Slower than Part 2? Or
I think just in general, I'm not a huge fan of the whole scene where they're on Polyjuice Potion and they're going around the Ministry of Magic. I don't know why, but I'm like, I could do without it. I can, do the rest of the movie. But that's a weird, probably just hot.
I think that is a hot take, actually. I think a lot of people like that sequence.
It's not that it's a bad sequence. I'm not as entertained by it.
Okay.
And so if I'm trying to watch the movie quickly, I probably just skip the whole sequence and just watch other parts.
I think just they use Polyjuice Potion a lot in this one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually really like the effect, even though it doesn't make sense, because the book they sound like the people that they're impersonating, but I like the idea that they have their own voices when they are on
Yeah.
Polyjuice Potion.
Yeah.
Um, and like in the second one, they're like, you need to sound more like Goyle. But then at the same time, that means that David Tennant did a perfect Mad Eye Moody the whole time.
Right.
It's a little doubtful.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
when they
part of me
don't really
also
sound
just
alike, but
I think part of me just feels like they're in the forest for like half the movie, or in a forest. And so sometimes it's just like a lot of like sitting and planning and talking, um, which again isn't bad. I think it's just not as entertaining sometimes, but it's the drama, um, that that comes in from just being, in the beginnings of a war. Overall, though, like I do really enjoy the movie. Um, like I will go back and rewatch this one more than I will like a lot of the other ones.
yeah, I really like this one.
Mm-hmm.
My only gripe with this one is how it ends. That's really the main gripe that I
Mm-hmm.
have. I think this one was a nice change of pace when we had just come out of two, but one could argue three movies where they had to rush a long book.
That's true. Yeah.
Half Blood Prince is shorter, but they still rush some pieces and cut some pieces and stuff.
And
And so
maybe
this
that's part
one,
of it.
yeah. And so
Maybe
this
I'm just
one
so used to them feeling rushed.
they actually slowed down and did a lot of things to keep to the loyalty of the book.
Right. Which
In
is
fact, I
great.
think I like this one almost more than the last one
Mm-hmm.
because the last one just feels like it's really only like a third of the book.
Yeah.
This is like 2/3 of the book. And I think, yeah, the forest stuff's a little much, maybe, but especially when we just came off of reading Deathly Hallows, they're in the forest so long,
Yeah.
and Harry's in like there's a lot of chapters where they're like Fleur's wedding and stuff happens like the day after Harry arrives,
Mm-hmm.
and the movie just keeps that stuff moving.
Mm-hmm.
And even instead of getting stuck in the tent talking all the time, they're physically moving across the countryside.
Right. Yep.
And so I think the sprawling landscapes and not so great landscapes and stuff where they're camping out keeps me more engaged
Yeah.
than the book format.
I will admit this rewatch I did skip the awkward dancing scene.
I think it was
I think that's my only dislike of this movie.
and we'll have to get into that. We'll have to get into that.
Yeah.
But what are some things that we liked about this movie?
It's just such a change of tone. I just, it feels like all of a sudden you've been building up for like six movies and like, books, you've just been building up to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is the movie where it feels like it's finally all happening. Like the ministry's being taken over and Harry, Hermione, and Ron are on the run, and Snape's in charge of Hogwarts, and people are being arrested, and um, it's it starts to build, um, up to just this final battle that you're gonna have. Um,
I like the
while
thematic shift. I
Yeah,
like the move to. It feels like, I mean, it's the same universe, same characters, but it's a different movie, different setting.
it
The
is,
setting brings it all into a different realm, I think.
and honestly, it's nice to see them in a lot of new locations that we
Yeah,
don't get. Um, and as slow as sometimes just all the like forest dialogue and stuff can feel, or just like some of those scenes, like there's a lot of character development that happens, um and I think just getting to see, you know just them on the run and trying to figure out how to hunt horcruxes, and just getting to see all the different things that they're having to do, in order to try and stay alive. I don't know. It's just a good story, and I think that they portrayed it really well in the movie. Like you said, they're able to dedicate more time to the book.
Yeah, for me, I think I am in the minority somewhat here. I really like the slow scenes because actually we get this kind of penultimate time instead of having this penultimate thing right before the end. We get to have this kind of slow movie to actually spend time with these characters we know and love before it all
True.
ends. And we don't really
True.
get any of that time in part two. And that's okay.
Mhm.
Part two is the epic conclusion, Battle of Hogwarts and all those things. And so I think I think that's a worthwhile conversation we need to have now is was
Mhm.
the part one, part two worth it?
I think so.
I feel like it was a money
Yeah.
grab, but it also worked a lot. It worked to the loyalty spent of the book's benefit.
I can't imagine what it would have been like if it had just been one movie. I think it would have
I
been way too
can,
hard.
and it's Order of the Phoenix again. It's exactly that again. Just oh,
I
they're not in the
I
forest, and they're briefly in the forest once, and
mhm.
they're in the ministry, and then they're in Gringotts, and then this, and then this, and then this.
Yeah. It really felt like a shift also in the sense of I felt like I was still watching teenagers in the first 6 movies, and now it's like I'm watching adults.
That was I think that's it. I think that's the biggest part of it for me, that I
Mhm.
like the thematic shift.
Yep.
They are adults, and they make that really clear right away
Yeah.
with the opening shots of Ron and Hermione and Harry. They make that clear so quickly that and I think that's also to and we'll talk about this next week too, Desplat's score.
Oh,
Alexandra
yeah.
Desplat. It's really good. And he really only does a few new songs. It almost but he makes his mark on the series and brings it all to a close.
Mhm.
Um and I think Nicholas Hooper would have done a great job too, but he didn't want to come back, and so I
Right.
think Desplat coming in was a good choice and bringing somebody new.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and now just a pause for a great segment that we didn't do last week. I don't think the Warner Brothers logo. Um, because we have to bring that segment back because this one
Yeah.
is a doozy.
It's yeah.
It's my personal favorite and least favorite.
Yeah.
Because you love and hate them.
Uh-huh.
The Warner Brother logo in this one is like actively rusting. Like
Yes.
it zooms into it
Like
and
you
it's
can
rusting
see
in
it.
real time.
Yeah.
And it's they added the sound effects too.
Yeah. I didn't love the sound effects.
No, I love it and hate it so much.
I
And I
still stand
always
by
think,
the first one's the best one.
yeah, because it's just gold. It's
Yep.
just there. Um, but yeah, some poor soul just they're like, no, it needs to be more rusting. He's like, how can I make it more rusty? And he's like, make little piece of metal rusting off it in real time.
Mhm.
And I'm sure some fan out there thinks about this as much as I do. Every time I turn it on, I'm like a Harry Potter movie. I'm like looking closely for the terrible words. I think the next one it's just like silent, like dead.
I think you're right, which honestly does a lot.
I
It
wonder if
sets
there's
the
a
tone.
I wonder if there's a quiz out there for which Harry Potter movie it is based on the Warner Brothers logo.
Like,
And
let's
I
see. It's
don't know if I
pretty
would pass
dark.
it.
It's probably in the last half.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I am gonna look it up. But yeah,
You
that
would
was
ace it.
the top note of my notes for all of these has been something about the Warner Brothers
Oh yeah.
logo. Harry's hairy.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's not unkempt, Prisoner of Azkaban style, but the longer Dan Radcliffe hair. We finally moved away from the Order of the Phoenix Half-Blood Prince era and Goblet of Fire
You
hair.
say finally. I honestly didn't mind the Half-Blood Prince hair.
I didn't either. No, I thought the Half-Blood Prince hair was pretty good.
I also don't hate the Order of the Phoenix hair. I prefer probably both of those over this hair.
What?
But it hits still about middle ground for me.
I like this one. I think it works.
Like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I think I like it. It gets a little messy towards the middle, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
And then the next one, it's a bit long. Mm-hmm. But also he's been on the run for a year, so it's fine.
Right.
And I have
Ron's
more beef
hair got weird towards the end of this one.
Yep. And I think the reason for that is they really did film these not even back to back, but like together. Mm-hmm. Like the last shot that they did of the trio was of all of Deathly Hallows, not just this one, was the jumping into the fireplace shot in the Ministry of Magic. Like they filmed that after the Battle of Hogwarts and the epilogue,
which
and
is wild,
all of the rest of it. It makes no sense.
No,
because
like imagine that being your last
filmographers
on set and like rapping with that.
Okay, jump on this cushion, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're done. Congratulations.
It must have just been in this one studio or wherever they filmed the indoor shots of Ministry of Magic, and they were just it was like they had to travel to other locations to film the other bits. But yeah, that's your fun fact of the day. I think it's good hair. I think it's better than the last 3 that we experienced. It's the best for me. It's the best since Prisoner of Azkaban. Maybe at the end I'll do like when I say at the end of us watching the movies, I'll rank the hairs. Fair enough. Overall, yeah, Ron's hair is great at the beginning and then gets really bad. And I think it's like wigs and stuff try to make it look different. Yeah. Because he looks pretty bad. Yep. The twins' hair is not the best either. Yeah. They didn't have the time to dye them as much as I think they normally would have. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. But also everything feels thematically darker anyways. And as I think people don't give him credit, this movie is not as colorless as the last one. That's true. This one has more color. I don't feel like I'm watching it through a lens. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have a tone. It doesn't have a tint to the entire thing, which I appreciate. And maybe that's why it feels more adult too. I don't know. Maybe. CGI is phenomenal as always. Yep. I think the snake could have used a little work at points. I think the snake was fine at the beginning. I didn't notice it until this watch. Mm-hmm. But when they fight the snake in Godric's Hollow, it was like a little bit weird. That's not like, and whenever I say these things, it's not a knock on the people animating the snake. It's more likely than not a knock on the people not giving the animators enough time to make it what they would want it to be. Yep. Because I can't imagine the working conditions on this were the best. Not as bad, maybe not as bad as they are today. Maybe worse. Right. I don't know. The Seven Potters scene is one of my favorite scenes. I really like Daniel Radcliffe playing himself, but all these different people. I love when the 2 Dan Radcliffes turn each other because they're Fred and George going, "Wow, we're identical." Yeah. It's really ridiculous. I think that was really entertaining, and it's a lighthearted scene in the book too, but it's a lighthearted scene before so much difficulty. Right. But the circle shot where they turn to Harry and Mad-Eye, and then when they come back, they're all Harry Potter. That was really cool. It was really good, and the music and stuff all brought that together, obviously too. Mm-hmm. Not a thing I dislike, but maybe why is Hagrid getting stunned by anything? I thought, and he got stunned in the book too.
Yeah, I don't
Pretty
know.
sure. So I wasn't mad like, ooh, they didn't stun him in the book. I think they did stun him. He went unconscious in the book too. I thought he couldn't get stunned, but here we are. Hedwig goes out in a in a flight of glory in this,
Yeah.
and I think that was a positive choice that they made. It also is way more understandable than Harry using Expelliarmus. Like, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
Ron would use Expelliarmus too
Right.
if he felt like it was just as effective.
Yeah.
That being
Yeah,
said,
I
Ron does a lot of stupefy,
it's
at least in
true.
Order of the Phoenix.
Also, as I was watching this one, I think we referenced this last time, but Ariana Grande's Hermione Granger impressions. When I heard Hermione go, "Coming, Mom," I was like, "That was another one Ariana Grande."
Ron got splinched.
The wrong got split.
It's just such a difficult scene, and it pretty much is ruined for me forever.
I know. The whole time I was just
Because
waiting for her to say it. Yeah.
there's a lot of incredible acting in this one.
Oh, yes.
In the behind the scenes, they talk about how they were just like they're really able to kind of show their prowess um,
Yeah.
with these scenes, and I feel like they did, and in a lot of ways,
Mhm. Well, and
it's
that's some
kind
of
of
the
saved their careers too. Like it gave them
yeah.
opportunities after Harry Potter, and they needed they needed some really strong
Mhm.
performances where they could less direction and stuff and more time to
Right.
just work
Well, and that's some of
that
the
space.
pro of having just the slower scenes.
Yeah.
Gives more time for just, you know, the emotion and the acting rather than
And I
just
don't
like,
feel
"Wah,
like,
wah, 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 wah," you know?
yeah, I don't think they felt like that because I think a lot hit the cutting room floor to make the
Yeah,
movies the length they wanted to. But yeah, I
right.
do agree with you.
Um,
Last time we see the burrow in the series,
I know.
um, the design is just perfect top to bottom. And
Mhm.
they never changed it too much to make it unrecognizable, but they added touches. Um, like Molly standing by the window, but the windows are all like sideways.
Mhm.
I just thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Um, not a again, I'm not mad about this either. George like clearly still has his ear in the shot and it's very noticeable, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. I don't know what they could have done otherwise,
I
prosthetic
know.
or
Right.
CGI.
Yeah. That is funny.
It is what it is.
Oh, well.
Any other things we liked about it? I liked the ministry sequence.
There's there's just so much that's
A lot
to
happens.
enjoy about this. Yeah, there's a lot that happens, but also it's just good. Like, it's just a good movie.
I
Um,
like the landscapes, but I'm a
the
hiker, I'm a
landscape.
nature guy, so
I also enjoy the Malfoy Manor sequences. I mean, they're hard to watch.
see that's kind of where we differ. I think I'm not as big of a fan of that part.
I mean, I mean, I'm not a fan as in like it's enjoyable because it kind of sucks, but it's something new in a new place that we don't often get.
That's true. I guess we
Um,
hadn't seen that
with a
before,
bunch
had
of
we?
characters that we don't typically get to see either. Um, so
I think for me the most heartbreaking scene is the beach scene right after
oh,
that where Dobby
of
dies. And
course.
I think that and this is my dislike of the movie. That scene is so culminating of the entire film that they really should have ended it on that scene.
Yeah.
They could have made the if they had to, and I hate even saying this, but I believe in this so much that they could have made Voldemort getting the wand a uh, post-credit scene or put it right before because it fades away as they're like looking over Dobby's grave with the music coming out. And that's exactly the way they've ended the last all of the movies, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much how they end the last one. And so I'm like, they had it. They had the formula. They should have, for once, stuck to the formula. It's not a happy ending, but it is an ending that culminates all of this emotional stuff, and it brings us to an end for the journey we just went on. And so it really ticks me off that they, over the years, have gotten more and more mad about this. I was like, it's so good. The ending was right there.
You know, I'm not as bothered by it.
I
I
get
can
it.
see like
Everyone's gonna see the next one anyway.
right, it sets it up for the next movie, and then you've just gone through this emotional roller coaster, and then it's like it ends and you're like, "Oh my gosh." And then it shows Voldemort and you're like, "Gosh, dang it." Like
Yeah. Oh
it
yeah,
really just
Voldemort's still a
revs
thing.
all of your emotions. And then it leaves you at the end of the movie going, "No." And then you have to wait for the next one.
And
Um,
the silent credits was also a good touch.
yeah. It doesn't just leave you like if it had ended after Dobby, I would have just left weeping, which I was probably still weeping. But I remember in the theater when Voldemort got the wand, you were just left with this feeling of like, no,
Yeah.
like that's the
I guess
last
that's
thing we
fair.
wanted. Yeah, yeah. It goes from weeping and sadness to just like yeah, a little bit of despair.
But
So like
that's
emotionally, I think it takes you on this ride. I didn't hate it though. I think nobody would have waited around for an after credits scene because
I
they
know.
hadn't done that before. Um,
I don't think that's a good solution. But I just
right.
yeah, I'm still
But
holding to my
I
belief. I
do
think
get
they
what
should
you're
have
saying
ended.
though. I
I
get
think
it.
they should have. I think they would have tied a ribbon on this story a little better than what they did.
Yeah.
But they did what it can't be changed. So
Right. I do get it though.
it kind of makes me wonder in the new series if they even get this far, if they do like 2 seasons per book for those last books. I don't even know what that
I
would
have no
look like.
idea. Honestly, because so many TV shows don't run, or I feel like don't run for as long anymore, thinking about this running for 7 to 8 seasons feels like a lot.
And they're convinced that they're going to film them all back to back.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that's like, I don't
Yeah,
even know if
no
they'll
TV
make it.
shows are even doing this. Like Percy Jackson is like, we're going to do 1 season at a time,
Hmm.
and we're okay with that.
Yep.
um
But even that's going to come to an end. Like Rick's still writing more books, and I
yeah,
don't think they're going to keep making series as Rick continues to write, or make
no.
seasons as Rick continues to write more books. Like
No.
I feel like they
They're going
will
to
end
do
it with the last battle.
The Last
Sorry,
Olympian,
the last
yeah.
Olympian. The last battle is a different
I
series.
would hope they would because The Last Olympian is the best.
Right.
I think I don't know if it mm, yeah, I think I said The Last Olympian is my favorite.
Mm,
Titan's Curse is phenomenal too, but
yeah.
I think Last Olympian is so freaking good.
I just feel like most of the streaming, like TV shows that come out streaming, not like we're on TV and running on TV, but like streaming, don't often have like 8 seasons, you
And
know?
the formula is starting to change, and we're getting on a rabbit trail, listeners, but that's okay. Um, and they should do this with Harry Potter too. Put it on TV. Because Game of Thrones was, I mean, I never watched it, but I know the popularity of it was a lot because of it went on TV. I mean, Walking Dead is a great example too.
Fair.
And Percy Jackson, well, they actually put Miss Marvel on TV like a
Did they?
year after the original due date or something, and it had like a lot of views. They put it on at ABC.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they had some more success by putting Percy Jackson on Hulu. So you could watch it on Hulu or Disney Plus.
Mhm.
And they might have put it on ABC as well. But that's definitely what they need to do moving forward to get it out there and get more people seeing it. I
Yeah.
think that's so. Anyway, this is being produced by HBO, the Harry Potter series. I don't think there's any reason they shouldn't put this on TV. Because
Yeah.
then, kids want to rewatch it and stuff, and then it'll always be on Max for them. But yeah, I'm interested too. I just don't think they're going to do that many seasons. I think they'll do one,
Yeah.
and then people are going to riot in the streets,
Yeah.
and they'll probably die.
I
Maybe
can't
not.
see it going past 3 seasons,
That's where I'm at.
but who knows? Who
Kudos to
knows?
them. But
Yep.
at least we have one complete adapted work.
Will we watch it?
Yes.
Yes.
With all of the castings and all of whatever they decide to do, we're going to see what this big swing is.
Because we are fans.
Yeah, dedicated
of this world, and we are gonna see what happens. So, anyways, yeah, a little off topic, but
yeah, any other dislikes?
I can't
think
think.
we've
Oh,
laid
I
them
forgot
all
to
out.
mention something else I like about this movie. I like the three brothers scene.
Yes.
With like the animation.
Everyone loves that. Yeah, it's so
good. So good.
Genius, honestly. Like instead of doing the live action.
Yeah. It was amazing.
I love the shot where the leaf like comes out of the window and then lands into this thing. It's just it's so good. It's fantastic.
As for dislikes, though, again, there's not much that I like dislike about the movie. It's just different from the other ones. And I think you nailed it on the head. All the other ones just have to move so fast. Or at least the last few we've watched have had to move so fast because the books are so big that it's a big shift to slow it way down. And so I think I just was like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this shift.
So before we get into favorite scene, I have a small claim I would like to make.
Okay.
That I promised last week. And this is like kind of a cop out, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think this is one of the only movies ever where the movie might be better than the source material. And I say it's a cop out just because it's not the whole book.
Right.
But if you were just to take that, if you were going to release it in 2 books in this weird universe where you did that, and you just took this book, this 2/3 or so of Deathly Hallows and the movie, I would probably say the movie's better.
I can't think of anything that I wish was in it that was in the book, but not in the movie.
Yeah, so like I have a few points, and that was one of them.
Okay.
The first one, I think the loyalty of this movie to the source material is close to being unparalleled in this series. Maybe Chamber of Secrets, as we talked about. Mm-hmm. They even add in certain pieces to fold in pieces of book lore that they skipped over in previous movies. Like the main 2 examples are bring Scrimgeour into the storyline. I mean, they kind of had to, but they could have written that out. Right. And bring Bill Weasley and Floor's relationship into the fray as well. They do that in a pretty natural way. Mm-hmm. And they spend the time doing that. The character performances, Voldemort, Severus, even though he's barely in it, Draco, even though he's barely in it, and then of course Harry, Ron, and Hermione elevate the otherwise slow and drawn out part of the book. Yeah. To make this into its own film, it breathes new life into it. That character development is really rich. And then the movie adds emotion where the book simply can't. So the score, 100%. But the slow mo, there's a slow mo shot of Dumbledore falling at the beginning. They add a lot of drama to it. There's a shaky cam shot of Harry right in the beginning. After that, they use different methods to keep us engaged. All of the shots of the English countryside, just phenomenal. Chef's
Mhm.
kiss. And then lastly, the movie has more action than the book. At least it makes us feel the action and the mystery magic, and it
Mhm.
adds the snatchers like chasing them. It just makes it feel like a more fully fledged story.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think there are changes, but I think the changes they made were smart.
Mhm.
And I think this is better than the book. This is not for all of Deathly Hollows,
Mhm.
because I would not feel that way about the other one, the
Yeah.
part two, but just part one.
I know that we recently-ish read Deathly Hallows. I think in order for me to make a fully informed like stance, I'd probably have to read the first part and then watch the first part like right after to kind of make
Yeah.
a determination. But I will say, based on the points that you gave, I think I'd have to agree with you,
Well,
having not read it as recent.
and the book has a lot of internal thoughts and stuff, which is
Yeah,
interesting. It makes the book feel a lot different than the movies do.
right.
But I think at least the movie is more engaging than the book
Hmm.
is for me at least.
Yeah,
But people don't like
and
this one, so I don't know what to make of it.
I will also like I know it reminds me a little bit of like with Lord of the Rings and like The Hobbit. Like I love watching the movies, but then you try to read the books, and the books are great. Don't get me wrong, they are great, but also it's just a lot of walking and traveling. Like it's just,
Listen,
especially The Hobbit. It
I've
takes
been
so
trying
long.
to batter the door down of that castle of reading Lord of the Rings so many times. And I always say I'm gonna make an effort of it. I'm gonna really read it this time. And I actually like full on force myself. And it felt like I was pushing myself through a brick wall most of the time
Hmm.
to read The Hobbit. And I couldn't. I was like, I'm reading this. I do not enjoy this. I'm making myself read this.
Yep.
And I got through like three-fourths of it and I had to put it down. And then I decided to try Fellowship of the Ring, and I've tried the Fellowship two or three times also. I just can't get into his writing, I
No,
think.
I understand. I honestly, same page. I feel you. I've picked up the series about 4 different times until now, and I just finished reading the whole series. It took me 26 years. I started, I think, in middle school trying to read The Hobbit.
I don't know why. I like C.S. Lewis. Not that they're the same at
Well, no,
all,
no, no.
but of that time period.
Right.
Anyway,
Yep.
favorite scene.
Favorite scene.
Ron got
It's
splinged.
yeah. I do think the whole sequence from when they picked up Harry at his house all the way until everybody makes it back. I really enjoyed the Seven Harrys.
I think that's my favorite too. When Harry hugs them all at the end and stuff, and Hermione's
Yeah.
hugging Ron with Harry's glasses on and stuff. I thought that was really cute.
Well, and I like Lupin's questioning of Kingsley, like what was the last thing Albus Dumbledore told the both of us?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just yeah. I
And
don't
see,
know. It's
they
all
went
good.
straight to the burrow in the movie, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that. Like I
Yeah.
found myself really being like, I would do like wait, that kind of makes more sense.
Yep.
Or like they didn't polyjuice Harry at the wedding,
Mhm.
which made the scene a lot more smooth.
Yep. Instead of what was
Um,
the name of the cousin that he was supposed
Barney.
to be? Barney. Yeah.
Well, then like I don't know. There's some parts missing of that too. I guess like a lot. We get a bit more Ginny in the beginning of Deathly Hallows.
True.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene too. Honorable mention to Dobby's death, obviously.
It's just hard to say it's a favorite because it's just so hard to watch.
Well, Dan Radcliffe was just pulling in that scene, and I was like, and I couldn't not think
I
about.
have goosebumps thinking about it. Like,
yeah, I was like, me too. I'm like, it is so amazing that they found children, little baby children, to play these roles in a kids movie.
Yeah.
And like 12 years later, he's a full-on adult doing and acting at the top level.
Yep. Yep.
And all he's done are these. Pretty much. And like that is I don't know if that's an achievement that can really be topped by anything.
Right.
And doing a role that long from that age to that age that he did it. Like I just don't think I don't know how possible it is. It's crazy that
and
they
can I
achieved
also
it.
just mention that I think it's wild that they all turned out so well adjusted. The trio.
I think they protected them a lot.
A lot of the supporting cast as well, like kid wise.
Well, and Emma Watson had a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah.
And
I mean,
don't know,
she's
maybe
kind of
that's
walked. A lot of them have kind of walked away,
right.
Or they've had to master. At least the trio, especially, it's had to really master protecting their home lives.
Yes. Well, how can you not? You were a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, like Emma Watson and Rupert Grint are like on social media, but post almost nothing. And then Dan Radcliffe's on nothing.
Nope.
And I'm proud of him.
Yep.
And he's a Detroit Lions fan. Because he has to be a Lions fan. Like, I get that he married somebody from Detroit and it's their family thing and all this stuff, but
he has to be a Lions.
Yeah, of course he's a Lions fan.
As close to Gryffindor as you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's like Luna living in Philadelphia and rooting for the Eagles.
Yep. I just maybe that's the difference between like movie and TV, but also like what other movie series ran for 8 movies, you know? Like right in a row like that. You're seeing kids grow up. And I feel like you see so many TV kids who are on like 8 seasons of a TV show who come out and are just not well adjusted and really struggle. And while these kids did have their struggles, like they are like Daniel Radcliffe is thriving right now. Like he's doing so good. He won a Tony.
Yeah, he's
it's
great.
just nice. It's nice to see where they all are now, and I think that says a lot about just the direction and production of these films.
Yeah, because like even though the director and the composers changed, the rest of the staff was pretty much the same every time. And so I think there's a testament there as well.
Yeah.
Favorite acting performance? This is impossible.
It's also good. I was thinking, like, I know who my favorite character is for this movie. And acting performance may go hand in hand with it. I don't know. I feel like Hermione / Emma Watson did a really great job in this movie.
I was going to say Harry or Hermione.
Yeah. Well, Dan's acting was fantastic in this movie too.
And I don't think Rupert Grint is. I think he also does better.
Yes.
But he's gone for a bit of it.
I was going to say he's gone for a bit of it, and I think it's just hard because you're just mad at Ron for a lot of this movie too.
He's just a big grump, which Rupert Grint does perfectly.
It's not his fault, but Rupert Grint did a great job portraying that.
And I think people are going to get mad, and listeners, I know we've not touched on it much at all. People are mad about the scene with Hermione.
Yeah.
It's not a couple scene. I didn't
Nope.
get that vibe.
I don't get that vibe either.
And there's another
It's just
coin
awkward.
in that piggy bank when Hermione's like, maybe we should just stay here, grow old. I don't think that's a love thing either.
No.
It's Hermione completely breaking down because she's like, basically been decided that she will die if she
Yeah.
goes back to society.
Yeah.
And her love of her life is also gone.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
mean, the book, listeners, if you haven't read the books, get out. But I'm just kidding. But if you, Hermione like cries all night. She's outside all night screaming for Ron.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Harry's just trying to make his friend feel better.
but the funny part that I texted Cole about this, so it's he knows about it. That's even all of that happening. That whole dance scene is, you know what the most inaccurate thing is?
What?
They didn't have the
Dan's
radio.
height? Oh, fair.
Not that the Nick Cave song came out in the 2000s after when this takes place or any of that, but the height is a good point. I didn't even think about that. No, it's the fact that Ron doesn't have the radio until he comes back.
Mm.
And even
Mhm.
if he did have the radio in first place, he would have taken it with him because it would be in his bag.
Right.
It's just hilarious stuff. Um,
Continuity.
I guess you can go with Hermione and I'll go with Harry,
Sounds
just
good.
so we're covering both our bases.
Yep.
Favorite character?
I thought that was it.
Well, favorite acting performances and favorite character. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it
Mine.
went mine went hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like
I
to
think
say
everyone
though,
else
an
didn't get much screen time.
honorable mention was Xenophilius Lovegood
Yeah.
and the actor portraying him. Fantastic job.
Yes. That was my honorable. My honorable mention was that's a good one. Mine was going to be Scrimgeour.
Yeah.
Bill Nye
Well, that's because who? Yeah,
he just eats up the scenes.
everything he does is good.
He's also like a personal friend to David Yates. So it's kind of he's done like all of his movies except for
Yeah,
the two Harry Potter movies he hasn't
it's
been
like
in.
a
And so
Saoirse Ronan and Timothy Chalamet and Greta Gerwig. They're in
yeah.
every movie that she
Well,
does.
they weren't in Barbie.
That's I
Missed
know. They
opportunity.
almost were. They were just too busy. They would have been
Timothy
had they been
Chalamet
available. Yeah.
would have watched the heck out of that. Saoirse Ronan Barbie would have also been something. Um, but yeah, Bill Nye is just great, and
Oh yeah.
I think slap some glasses on him, and that was pretty much book Rufus
Mhm.
Scrimgeour.
Yep.
But I love the last will and testament. Like he's just like always, he's
Mhm.
always so epic and over the top. I love it. Loyalty percentage.
The highest we had was
Oh,
Chamber, and it was at
yes.
75, right?
No. So we
No, it
have
was at 80, 82. No, 90. It was
have them.
90.
It was 90. Yes.
Ugh,
So we have
man.
Sorcerer's Stone was at 84%. Chamber
Yep.
Secret was at a 90%. Prisoner of Azkaban was an 81%. Goblet of Fire was 63. Order of
Yep.
the Phoenix was 60. Half Blood Prince was 75.
Yeah, I think 75 was what I was remembering just because we had that last time. Um,
I would give this a 90 again,
I was gonna place it like a little below Chamber, maybe, but just like a
but
little.
the next one below it is Sorcerer's Stone. It's 84.
Right. I wouldn't go down to Sorcerer's Stone. I'm sitting at like 88, 89.
I think 89 is an insult. Just give him the
I'm
A.
88.
Just give him the A or give him the B. Sorry, I'm going to teacher mode here. We'll go with 88, I guess.
Okay.
I think that's unfortunately fair, but I can't let it sit at an 89. Because if I say 90 and you say 88, then that's
It's gonna be
89,
an 89.
and I'm not doing that. I can't do it. And Cole is not here. Cole would make us do an 89.
Well, because truly, do you think it's accuracy? Do you think it is tied with Chamber of Secrets? Like it is
No,
just as accurate and faithful.
no.
So it's a little below,
I
but it's
think
still
it
better
makes,
than Sorcerer's Stone.
and I think like it's hard to take away points because I think the choices that they made the changes that they made were
Right,
for the
we're for the
betterment
better.
of
Yes,
certain pieces. But they
I
did.
do agree.
They did change some things
Yeah,
and skip a few things,
yeah.
but not a lot.
So that's why I feel like 88 is a nice spot to put it.
Yeah,
Even
because
though I do agree with you.
yeah, second. I'll take second place.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next one's not. I don't think it's gonna get. I
I don't
don't
know
think the
either.
next one cracks Prisoner of Azkaban.
I always have qualms with the way that the movie battle with
I'm
Voldemort.
pointing my wand as hard as I can.
Yeah, I rank it lower just for the final battle between Voldemort and Harry.
I'll probably. I don't know. I'll have to watch it, but I'm thinking about an 81% too.
Yeah.
I'm not rating it higher than Prisoner of Azkaban, but it's pretty much there. Ranking.
Okay, I was looking at my ranking, and I think I'm gonna go just of like my own enjoyment and like rewatchability. Like, which ones do I go back and rewatch the most? I think it's gonna sit at number 3 for me. It goes Prisoner, Sorcerer's Stone, Part 1 of the Deathly Hallows, Half Blood Prince, Order of the Phoenix, Chamber of Secrets, and Goblet of Fire.
This one's a really easy week for me
Yeah.
because this one floats right with Half Blood Prince at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to put it at the top for right now. And maybe next week I'll have more clarification on it. Because Half Blood Prince, I'm tempted to bump up there, but I don't think I'm. No, I think I'm going to put Half Blood Prince back at the top, actually.
Ooh.
So I'm Half Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows Part 1, Prisoner of Azkaban, Chamber of Secrets, Sorcerer's Stone, Goblet of Fire, and Order of the Phoenix. And I put Deathly Hallows Part 1 that high just because it is one that I rewatch a lot. The Half Blood Prince is the one I've rewatched the most.
The movies and books that I will rewatch or read the most are 3, 1, and then book 7, which means that I'm watching movies 7 and 8.
See,
So
I'm not like that. I can't just read 7 Deathly Hallows. That's too much for me. Like I have to build myself up to it.
I guess that's fair.
It's my least reread book.
Mm.
I can pick up Half Blood Prince and I have, but I can't just pick up Deathly Hallows. It's too much for me. I feel the same way about Inheritance.
I read through the
Ironically enough.
Aragon series once and struggled to pick it back up again. But I think again, it takes a little bit for me to get into world building, especially when there's like different languages.
Oh yeah, and I think
And
the
so,
first one's not as strong as in a very good way. The first one is the weakest entry.
yes.
And not that the first one's bad, but it just gets better and better from there.
Yeah, so Aragon, I lied, I guess. I've reread Aragon before, but it's been hard for me to get past.
But Deathly Hallows Part 1, such a good movie.
Oh, so good.
It's a clean 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Not really without breaking a sweat. I guess there's a deleted scene of Victor Crumb at the wedding. It's great. And Ron's in the background giving his best mean look ever.
Oh, can we also just mention the deleted scene where Dudley's like, I don't think you're a waste of space?
Yeah, I do like that scene. it also is very cringy.
It is.
It is equally cringy to good. And so I'm pretty glad that they didn't make the film. But I think that is an 88. That gives the 88 more justice.
Yeah. I think it was meant to be cringy. I don't think in the book it was meant to be cringy. It was heartwarming, but I think because of the way they have portrayed Dudley's character in the movies, they meant for it to be a little cringy.
Absolutely. Well, that is a wrap. I don't. It's so sad. I don't feel like mischief was managed. A little mischief was managed.
Yeah.
That'll be the tagline. So thank you all for listening to Show of Requirement. The Spencer and Abby, of course, next week before Christmas, we're going to be finishing this whole thing with Deathly Hallows Part 2. But until next time, a little mischief was managed.